Hi, everyone, and welcome to OneMicNite, the podcast that brings you stories of artists and people in their life, helping to guide, answer questions, and motivate you in the business with their personal journeys. My name is Marco Solis, and today, very exciting, we're talking about education and the importance of education in children. My guest today is an entrepreneur. She's an educator. She is the owner of TFEmpowerment, which is a science learning organization for kids. And I'm very, very happy to have her here with us. Please welcome Stephanie Farmer. How you doing, Stephanie?
I'm okay, Marcos. How are you?
I'm great.
You all right?
I'm so good. I'm so good. Listen, I'm really excited to have you here because throughout my life, my own mother was in education. She was in education administration, and education is a very, very important. It's an important part of, who you are. And we, not only as people of color, but just people in general, you need to have education to get further in life. And what you do is important. So first off, before we start talking about what you do, I want to talk about who are you? Who is Miss Steph?
That seems to be a heavy question.
Yeah, it is. It's heavy.
Right?
It's heavy.
When you add, it's like, who are you?
Who are you?
I'm a lot of things. I'm comprised of several different components. My name is Stephanie E. Farmer, and I always make a point of saying the E because I actually share a first name with my mother. And so it is a distinction that honors her because she actually wanted me to be called by my middle name instead of the first name. It actually was a whole entire conversation when I was born about that type of thing. And so I am Stephanie E. Farmer. I'm the executive director and founder of Triple F Empowerment Inc. I am of Caribbean descent. I definitely identify as my mom used to say, BLACK. I identify as a woman of faith. I am an avid church participant and goer. I love church. It's a fun part of my life, which sometimes people are kind of surprised that I also am a very avid science teacher. They're like, how does that work together? And then I really mess them up, and then I say I'm also a vocal stylist, that has been kind of in the background for the last several years as I've grown Miss Steph Science Club. But I definitely have an artsy part of me,
right?
Which is, as you know, how we met.
Right, how we met, for sure.
At an open mic night.
Right. Also with your middle name, we met.
Yes.
I think you were going by, middle name.
Yes, I was going by Liz Farmer at
Absolutely.
the time. I was like trying to come up with the stage name, and it was, when you're trying to figure out. And so that's why I say, when you ask me, who are you? That's a deep question.
That's a loaded question. I know.
But I answer it, in my opinion, these days, albeit the long way, but I answer it with much more ease than I answered it when we met. Right? Because you grow and you change and just go, okay, this is who I am. This is what I do.
Absolutely. A culmination of all the experiences.
I am also a military brat. And so that has really shaped me and made me a person who can adjust quickly, and who, though it's not preferred, I am less bothered by not being able to travel home, because again, being a military brat, home has moved over the years,
right? But
not to be able to travel home for Christmas. I talked to my dad the other day at a board meeting, actually, because he's one of the Fs, and we were kind of joking about how Christmas together was just not something we had anyway.
Interesting.
So Christmas can be any time of year.
Right.
You just move it. So to have Christmas in December is just like not a thing that our family had experienced. So
Interesting. How is military life for you? I mean, I know growing up it's difficult for kids because you never feel like you belong anywhere, but everywhere.
It was definitely very hard.
Yeah.
We were a family that, we were a four top, dad, mom, brother, sister. But we functioned as 3+1 for a lot of the time because my father would be deployed or he would be just away. So he was part of the family, like in the home, but like not.
Right.
And so that was an interesting experience as a child. Also, my dad is of Caribbean descent. Well, actually, he grew up, born and raised on Barbados. And so that, all those pieces together made growing up pretty strict. We were, typically what you think of as the different components that would make a strict household.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I have all of those.
Right.
And just like I said, holidays were not always together or were not always celebrated the day that everybody celebrated them. My mother was also a nurse and worked nights, so we especially were fluid with when holidays happened.
Right. Wow.
And we would sometimes typically be distant from extended family. So we're very used to, just us.
Right. Do you feel like that gave you a stricter upbringing, in terms of what your educational responsibility is going to be?
Yes.
Direction. Yeah.
Yes, because having an immigrant parent, you were definitely expected, and actually both parents were in the Air Force at some point. And so we were definitely expected to perform in a certain kind of manner. And I'm very comfortable letting my students know, actually, my grades were not that great until I went to college. My grades actually went up. Typically, they tell you, your GPA will go down.
Right, yeah.
Be very afraid.
Right,
be afraid.
Yeah.
And my GPA went up.
Interesting.
It went up.
Where was schooling for you? Where was high school?
So in the first half of high school was in Illinois. We were stationed at Scott Air Force Base. And then the second half of high school was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And that's actually where I then continued on and finished my bachelor's at the University of New Mexico.
Wow.
Yes, there are Black people in New Mexico.
Yeah, I was going to say, what was that like for you? Yeah, what was that like for you?
Yeah.
In New Mexico, yeah.
So being a high schooler in New Mexico, right? So you have that component of you move in the middle of high school,
right,
which in itself is going to be hard no matter what. That's where my father retired from the base, because you have to retire from a base, at least at the time my dad was planning on retiring, you have to retire from stateside. And actually technically from the 48, right? So you have to be in one of those states to then say, okay, I'm going to retire from. And so that's how that assignment was chosen, actually, because my parents were planning, okay, so it's going to retire, yada, yada, yada. Then New Mexico is not known for quality public education. And so there was actually a bit of a conversation. I have never gone to private school. However, there was a conversation for a period of time when we first moved to New Mexico about whether or not I would go to one of the private schools. We were considering actually, well, when I say we, I didn't grow up in that time frame, so it wasn't really we. Like, I was there.
Yeah.
I was there and I was interviewed, but the decision really was my parents' decision. And they actually decided not to send me to that school.
Interesting.
Which would have been, on paper, the better school. I actually ended up going to West Mesa. And people know, West Mesa is not known for its quality.
Right.
And folks, I get the graduating class started out as somewhere well over 1,000, but I graduated with well under 500 people.
Wow.
When I graduated. It's known for dropout, all that type of stuff. And so for my parents, it's really only just what God had planned, because there's no way that you would the logical parents they were very logical. No way you would logically send your child there, because we were on that side of town. That's the school that we were zoned for, or it was the private school. And my parents were like, no,
Right.
no, we'll go with and that actually turned out to be very good. Some of my best science instructors were at that school.
Isn't that crazy? It's crazy. That's crazy. It's what you make of it, Yeah. And the discipline that you had.
They had just built a science building.
Wow.
Because the building actually used to be a women's prison. To tell you how it really was like
Jeez.
That side of town.
Wow. That's crazy.
And they, as in the city or whatever, had just built an additional building, because for folk outside of New York City,
Mm-hmm.
high school was multiple buildings. It was spread out. It was down this long stretch of nothingness, because it is New Mexico. Things are spread out, and to this day, very spread out. And they had just built this new state-of-the-art science building a couple of years before my family moved there.
That's interesting. So is that where the love for the science came in? I mean, is that where
it was before
flourished?
that.
Oh, really?
It was before that, but that experience did not hurt. That is one of my foundational experiences. I wish I could remember the names of the teachers. And interestingly enough, typically, especially how I present and how important I know what I look like and sound like and who I am, how impactful that is. At the same time, the science instructors I had there were actually both white male, and were some of the very few people who did not react to me in the typical way. They were really science teachers. They were geeky, they were nerdy, and they had no issue with it, and were actually quite encouraging. And they were excited to have me in class.
That's great.
And so that's actually kind of a peculiar thing. I remember the chemistry teacher always had a lab coat on,
Mm-hmm.
and he was definitely like chemistry, like glasses, frazzled kind of red-haired guy.
So what did they do that encouraged you? Did they make it fun? Was it a way they presented it that sort of?
It was thorough. So, like I said, this science building, not only was this brand new science building, it was a real. We had the black benches, we had glassware. I had experienced some of my first real science. When I say real, the techniques and the things I learned at that high school, I still been carried over to UNM,
Yeah.
which is not exactly quite known for being the best. That's the school you just go to because you're there.
Right.
You don't fly in to go to UNM. But at the same time, when I got there was a lot really, really strong science programs, and so in high school, I was able to use real glassware, real sand bath, real Bunsen burner.
You know what?
He was letting us do all that stuff.
I was going to say, it's so interesting you say that now. Now you're making me remember, because my high school experience, listen, I started out college pre-med, and I switched from pre-med because of the chemistry, the hardship I had with chemistry. I remember in high school, the professor I had in high school, I went to a private school. It was a prep school. So much fun, so thorough, so everything. I was so good at it. But then when I got to college, it just didn't click. The connection with the professor, the things we were doing, it just didn't work for me.
Wow.
So it turned me off, So it's interesting that you say that. Your professors were very thorough, and the connection that you had and the welcoming, that they gave you.
They really grabbed onto all of us nerdy, geeky kids.
Mm-hmm.
They let us be nerdy, geeky kids. Those two teachers in particular. And then I also had a health teacher that, for whatever reason, my school had this thing called Health 2, which is just I've never seen it. To this day, I still haven't seen it anywhere else. And that teacher, I remember Miss Guerin. I remember her name. And she had in conjunction with then the chemistry teacher and the physics teacher that I ended up having, which the physics teacher also did a calculus class. And so you had to go really early. My mom and dad would drop me off at school an hour early because they would, it was only offered to a couple of the kids. It was like, my calc class, I think was like 8 kids. And it was taught by the physics teacher. And it could only be taught at that time because so few kids were at that level.
Right.
And it was the same physics teacher. He had like his cowboy boots. I remember him and his really long mustache, unnecessarily long mustache. He had cowboy boots, wore jeans every day.
Interesting.
And he had us doing like making pumps, like making a water pump. Mine totally didn't work. I remember that too. But I also remember it not being a thing. You still got points. He didn't grade too easily and he didn't grade too hard. Like he just was like, this is science, this is math, da da da.
It's the encouragement and the reinforcement and learning.
Another memory I have of him was that I had a project for another class. It was like some type of history, something where we were doing like Greek mythology. And growing up, my mom always had the black-brown version of stuff. So even if we had bought Santa things, she would color in Santa. Okay, so this applies to this project.
Right.
So the project I was coloring, he saw me. He walked by my desk because I think I was there even so early that like it was before class was starting, which in itself was something like 7 something in the morning. And I'm coloring my little Greek gods. Like this bronze.
I love that.
Right?
I love that.
And this white man with his long mustache, when I say, he was like, yeah, because most of them were.
Wow.
In New Mexico.
Wow.
In 1996. No, this is unheard of.
Wow.
At the school that was not known for being quality and open-minded and this, that, and whatever, but
there you have it.
This was my experience. And to this day, I'm 42. To this day, I graduated in 96. To this day, I still remember that teacher reinforcing that and not being like, oh, you're coloring the wrong color.
Listen, I love that. And that's segues right into what I want to talk about, because now you've created this organization and I want you to tell us about it.
Okay, so there's various links versions, but so cut me off if I go too long because I answer stuff the long way. I've realized that about myself, and I'm honest about it. So Triple F Empowerment Inc. runs the ever loved, as I like to say, because I've gotten a really good positive response about it, Miss Steph Science Club. And so I kind of goofily, when I meet people, I'm like, I Miss Steph, in the Miss Steph Science Club. And so Science Club was birthed out of so many things. I was working at a nonprofit and I was running the after school. And for various reasons, health reasons actually, which I'm also very open about because I'm also an endo warrior. For health reasons, I ended up leaving that position because I just wasn't able to work the hours. But during that time, I met all these students and I was noticing and finding out that like school, like kids didn't do hands-on science at school. And I was like, do you see my face right? I'm like,
right, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What? Like this is not how I grew up. And I grew up in everywhere. Like we were in the Philippines for a period of time. We were in California. We were in, West Mesa High School with like the worst whatever, this, that, and whatever dropout scores, and we still had a science building. So I was like, how are there 4th graders who don't know what happens when you mix vinegar and baking soda together?
Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that.
I don't care.
Yep.
Everybody knows that.
Yep.
Not so. Everybody does not know that. And so when I transitioned out of that position and trying to figure out like what I was going to do with myself, I had a dear friend. I usually don't say her name because she doesn't like being like out present, but I had a dear friend who was like, Steph, you should start your own program. Because the other thing that was happening was the position I had left, they were closing the organization. And so my kids, my babies,
your babies
weren't going to have camp. And she was like, I will find you a spot, even if it's just a couple of kids. You should run your own program. She was like, what would you do? And apparently, I don't remember this, but she remembers. She's like, you outlined everything. You said you were going to do hands-on science, and it's going to be art, and it's going to be fun, da, da, da. And I was like, did I really? At least I know I'm consistent. Whether I remember what I say or not, I've always been very like science and art go together, and it should be fun for kids, because it was fun for me all the way up through college biochemistry lab, where it was like horrific, and we were in the lab for 5 hours just trying to get like 1 milliliter of stuff to like perform properly after 3 days of distilling, right? And if it was wrong, you're gonna start back again. So like, but that still was fun. The do part of science has always been fun for me, and I wanted that for the kids, because when I was hearing kids like, yeah, our science, we just like read,
right?
That's their science. Oh no,
right.
That's not okay. So, long story short, we end up with Miss Steph's Science Club. The red is an homage to my mom. That was her favorite color. She, by the way, is deceased. She actually passed when I was 20, shortly after I turned 20.
Wow.
And so this has always been, the shirt comes in other colors now, but we originally were, I knew I wanted red shirts. That was like just on my spirit, red shirts. And I knew I wanted this microscope as the thing. So the original logo, I actually traced. When you say entrepreneur, like when I say I DIY'd our NPA, our nonprofit application for the IRS, our taxes, QuickBooks, the QuickBooks I still do, like.
Right. I mean, I see the detail in the work. I see it. I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, so this new one is an upgrade.
Okay.
By an actual artist, but all he did was elevate. He was like, let's make it so you can really see and tell what it is. But we rocked that like trace logo for a minute, for like till the beginning of 2020 actually. And our hashtag is We Make Science Fun. And at this point, Triple F Empowerment Inc., as of last week, because of an event that I was a part of, we've now touched in some way over 5,000 children.
Wow.
Isn't that cool? It's like amazing.
It's amazing, and I have to ask you,
I have no idea how.
Do you feel? Yes, you do. Yes, you do, because what you're doing is great, and you just said it. I think the key to it is making it fun and making it relatable to the kids. Kids don't want to go to school and be bored. They learn when it's fun, and that's exactly what you do. And I'm going to parallel you. This is crazy, but I'm going to parallel you to like a Sesame Street, Zoom, all those fun learning kid shows where we can all go back, and the nostalgia is you still remember the songs, you learn. Schoolhouse Rock, 1, 2, 3, all those 4, things. 5, 6, 7,
exactly. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Exactly. Right?
Right. And that's the fun part about it. And you learn. Exactly. I love that. So give us an example of what you do.
So we have a couple of different components too. So there's Miss Steph Science Club. That's that's the main program. And Miss Steph Science Club has a Saturday program, which now is online. Okay. It has the Traveling Science Teacher, which now is online. You see the pattern here.
Right, yeah.
I do some private tutoring if a parent reaches out and says, hey, Miss Steph, like my kid needs just support. And we have a summer program. Summer is where it started. Summer was that program that their friend was like, look, Miss Steph, I will find you a space. Just like do it. And summer is how everything else is designed. Like so, and summer is like the testing ground for a lot of the other things that I do. And so summer is your typical New York City day camp, which, by the way, I did not go to day camp as a child.
Wow.
Hello.
Yeah.
Strict Caribbean parents. And so it's like, no, you stay home and read with your brother, watch TV. You'll be safe that way. And so I modeled it from what I learned at the other organization that I had to leave due to health reasons. And it's a day, we start our day off, well, when we're in person, we start our day off with some reading, yada yada. The kids get to do, and they get to color in the beginning. So the art comes in the beginning of the day.
Right.
If you want to sit in color, you can sit in color, because what time do you have? It's in the school day. So a lot of the programming that I do is based around what they're not getting at school. You're not getting hands-on science. Okay, so we're going to do science like all day, and we'll make a mess because you don't get to do that. Okay? You're not getting to sit in color at school, most likely, because depending on what's going on, whether you're in a private or a public school or a charter school, it's probably like ELA math, right? So I'm going to let you color as much as you want. Even literally, if they can prove that they're focusing, I will let a child color while I'm talking. If you can prove to me you're paying attention, you know how to do the experiment once I'm done.
Right.
Okay.
Right. What age range are we talking about?
So summer, again, that's my core programming, and then Saturday and traveling and all that kind of stuff. It was birthed out of contacts through that. So school age, 5 to 12. Then my babies, as they get older, they can then volunteer. So I have kids that have been with Science Club ever since we started in 2012, because they just grew up and now they're paid staff. I have kids that...
So you mean volunteer to help the younger kids?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they volunteer.
Right.
And then once you come out of high school, so high school grads, then we pay. And I try to pay them, minimum wage. I pay them because I think that they should learn to be paid and learn to manage their resources, and they should understand that if they're contributing something, that they deserve to be compensated.
This is good. So this is a nonprofit organization too,
yes,
right? And so you're surviving, or you're taking donations, or
yes.
Okay. So everybody out there listening and watching this, please donate to this cause, because education is where we are. We need the education.
Yes.
Empowering kids. Kids.
Yeah, we take contributions year round. In particular, right now we're doing a Breaking Barriers campaign. Breaking Barriers at Mach Speed is our campaign right now. And contributing is very easy. It's like one click on our website, www.TFEmpowerment.org. Okay, why not? Hello.
Listen up, everybody. Listen up.
Put it in there. I'm sure you're going to put that in there. But
here's
in the
everybody
description.
listen
But
up by Q York.
we are mainly donations are how we are. I don't want to say surviving, but how we are working on thriving. Sometimes there's a paid relationship, but typically the donors are making up for the gap of the affordability of the paid, right? So not only is there summer program, there's Saturday program where when we're in person, kids come for a couple of hours and literally just get to tinker it at different stations. And it's a walk-in program. And that's how I run and that's why I do the Facebook Live, because I wanted it to be as accessible and affordable as possible. And how much more affordable is Facebook Live?
Absolutely, yeah.
All you gotta do is click the link and you can attend, and you can ask questions, and you can make suggestions for activities too.
That's great. Do you feel like this time, like during the COVID time, this has sort of helped you, and it's helped a lot of people because you have more access?
So yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'll go with the yes part. Yes, as far as exposure and the amount of children who get to be inspired, empowered, and encouraged, absolutely.
Right.
Because summer camp this year went not only to Harlemites, but summer camp, because we were virtual. We would log into Zoom and Google Classroom. And I had kids from Virginia Beach. I had kids that were in Alabama. I had a kid that was between Atlanta and Oklahoma. And the Facebook, goes anywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm also on OutSchool as well.
Okay.
That's just a different online learning platform. And so kids from there, some of those kids, I think, taught kids probably in California.
That's good.
So it helps in that way. And it also helps it makes me hone my teaching skills and also our curriculum, right? Because I am not a trained teacher. That's the thing that a lot of people don't know. I'm a teaching scientist.
Right.
And so I was thrown into a fire at a charter school, and I was a science teacher for 300 kids, and learned the New York State standards and all that type of stuff from there. And so now most of my curriculum, even though it's fun, I still make sure that we hit standards and that they're able to be as successful as, within my control. I try to make sure that they have what they need to do to perform well on that exam, which, by the way, has a hands-on component, even though some of these kids are not getting to see materials all school year long.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
See that?
Hello, disparity.
That's right. That's absolutely right. You're right.
So
that's okay. So what do you need us to do as parents, as people in the community? What do you need us to do? How can we help you? How can we help you help us?
Help you. Yeah. So in general, as speaking on the behalf of educators,
yes,
communicate with us. Ask us questions.
Okay.
Specifically with Science Club, interact. Ask me, because you're all the kids are my students now, right? Because again, like you were saying, that this pivot to this virtual platform means that I can have students anywhere.
Absolutely.
Ask me questions.
Right.
Send me an email and say, hey, Miss Steph, you know what? I don't have the materials for yada yada, but I guarantee you on the other side of this wall, if your kid can think of it, I probably have the materials for it. And so I can do the hands-on part on your behalf and really walk you through an activity that you can do at home with your child, as well as explain the science behind it, right?
Yes.
So that's the big thing. Interact.
Right.
Ask me questions and tell me, hey, Miss Steph, actually, I respectfully, you could say, hey, why did you do it that way? Or my kid actually likes this other type of stuff. Because right now I'm just doing what I know the students that I'm aware of enjoy doing.
Right.
But if, a parent feels that I need to expand what I'm doing, I will. Just tell me.
Okay. That's it. So tell everybody how we can get in touch with Miss Steph.
Yes.
TF Empowerment.
The best way to get in touch with me is to do one of the following 3 things. Instagram. Instagram is a great way. You can send me a DM or start to follow me on Instagram at MSSTEPH_TFE. Okay. So that's one way to get a hold of me. Another way to get a hold of me is to reach out on Facebook. And that's another place where you can follow and ask questions and all that type of stuff. And so our organization, we're called Triple F Empowerment Inc. on Facebook. And if you don't see this logo, you are following the wrong page.
Right.
Right?
And those shirts are for sale too, right?
Yeah, we do sell shirts. And so you just have to let me know. Because this year in particular, I didn't make a lot of extra shirts just because we weren't in person. But yes, shirts are available.
Shirts are available.
And buying a shirt supports the organization.
Right.
So that's another way to support us. And the final way to get a hold of me would be to reach out at our website online. So www.TFEmpowerment.org.
That's right. Well, Miss Steph, I want to thank you so much for all the work that you do, and I want to thank you for coming on OneMicNite. It's so good to have you here. And please, everyone, make sure you support Miss Steph and TFEmpowerment.org. Go to the IG, drop a question, check out what she's doing. It's incredible. Go to the YouTube. Facebook is live. It's free. Make sure you empower your kids, right?
And that's on purpose.
That's on purpose.
That's
See
purposefully.
that?
So it's for you. Whoever you are out there, it's for you.
It's for everyone. Thank you once again for coming on OneMicNite podcast. This is OneMicNite podcast. Follow us at OneMicNite everything. OneMicNite is spelled OneMicNite. You can follow me at Marcos Luis on everything, MarCosLuis. Please make sure you download and share this episode with everyone. Thank you for joining me on this episode. We'll see you next time.